Drivers, start your engines!
It's MRN Motorsports Monday, the place for the latest news and loudest opinions, direct from the guys at the track. Presented by Outback Steakhouse. The stories, views, and opinions expressed on MRN Motorsports Monday are not likely shared by anyone, anywhere. Results may vary, so you should talk to your doctor before watching.
What's up, Doc?
Today's episode is brought to you by Hercules Tire.
Pace car is a...
Here's Woody Kane.
Oh, boy, am I glad to see you guys!
I knew you'd come back, Woody.
And Joey Meyer.
Just a reminder, if you're asking me a question on the radio, just keep talking till I answer it for you, all right?
Welcome to MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse, a special holiday Labor Day edition of the program. After NASCAR Throwback Weekend, Denny Hamlin sweeps Darlington, and Austin Cindric punches his playoff ticket with his first career Truck Series win up at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Yeah, in honor of Throwback Weekend, I've got my throwback hairstyle. It's back when I was a kid, younger age.
Back when you were a baby?
Exactly right. Yeah, it's all the way back. And I appreciate you joining me on the set with your throwback. You know, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
More importantly, what can you do today at Outback? What can you do today that you couldn't do yesterday?
Kevin Harvick had a top 10 finish. He came in ninth at Darlington, and that means you get a free
Bloomin' Onion.
It's Bloomin' Monday.
Yep.
Go in there and tell him that Kevin Harvick got that top 10, and you want your free Bloomin' Onion.
Free is being the key
Yeah,
word.
it's Bloomin' Monday at Outback.
It's throwback.
Yeah, it's a throwback.
Throwback. Free.
Back to when things were free.
Free.
You just got to go out and kill an
get
onion
'em.
and cook it
That's
yourself.
it.
And back to the caveman days. And don't forget, too, they've got that center cut sirloin with a steamed lobster tail right now, starting at $15.99. Very good. So all the pageantry was really cool over the weekend. All the paint schemes, the crew guys dressing up. I saw several attempts at mustaches along the way.
Yep.
Even some of the guys up in Canada for the truck race were getting into the act, including Austin Cindric, who's got a cool story to tell us later about his throwback. He's going to be on the program to talk about that win, and it was just a lot of fun to see that.
It is a special weekend. You know, for a long time, Labor Day weekend was Darlington. The date switched away from an off weekend, and then it would be like Mother's Day for a little while, and now it's back to where it belongs on Labor Day weekend. People are down on vacation. The stands were really, really full. The atmosphere was really electric with the level of music that was playing from the 80s and the guys that were dressed. Everything just was really cool. And I know I don't want to sound cheesy when I say it, but everybody really enjoyed it. There wasn't anybody walking around with special paint schemes that was, oh, I got to dress up like
I hate this.
Right.
Yeah.
They were all getting into character. And it was a little bit like a Halloween costume event. Who could outdo the other?
Yeah.
You had the 13 car, in my opinion, with the smoky, unique white jumpsuits were spectacular.
Yeah.
The red, white, and blue STP uniforms of Throwback were spectacular.
And speaking of that, my favorite part, Richard Petty leads the parade laps, and then
Yes.
they have to black flag him to get him off the track.
So his radio wasn't working, and they kept saying, all right, Richard Pitt this time, and he kept driving around, and they had an
and
in-car.
he was as happy as
Yes,
could be.
he was happy. He was leading the field. You
Yeah.
could see, you knew he was making engine noises in the car. You know what I mean? You just
That
knew
was
it.
outstanding.
Exactly right. Denny Hamlin, pretty good at Darlington.
You
pretty
think?
good.
Yeah.
Pretty good at Darlington with a really dramatic late corner pass, crossover move, a veteran move with Denny Hamlin on Joey Logano to take that victory, and then a very unique strategy with Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch alone that really allowed them to run the end of that race on one less pit stop at Darlington, something we don't see.
Denny Hamlin sweeps the weekend at Darlington. He spoke with our Winston Kelly after winning the Bojangles Southern 500.
Well, I got beat on the last green flag sequence. The Truex came from a straightaway back and beat us out of the pits. And a little bit of that was pit road, but I think a little bit of that was my entry, and I tried to get all I could and just flat out overshot it. And so I looked at my dash, and I gave up about 10 to 12 seconds. I was like, I don't know if I can, were we going to win this race by 10 or 12 seconds? I doubt it. And so we had to put on a heck of a drive. My crew chief, Wheels, was motivating me every lap to push, and that's all I had.
Back in 2010, you swept. This year, though, it is the Southern 500. What does that mean to have a sweep in this historic race? It means so much. I mean, this is the Southern 500. It doesn't get much bigger than this. This is the granddaddy of them all. This has so much history. I'm so happy to be in Victory Lane, Darlington. This is where I got my very first start in Joe Gibbs Racing. So this track, these fans mean a lot to me.
Second win of the season for Denny Hamlin, his playoff ticket firmly punched now, and it all comes down to Richmond where that field will be set. We got to take a timeout now on Motorsports Monday, on track, off track, and Ask Joey next. And a little bit later on, the Truck Series winner from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Austin Cindric, joins us.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great.
If you or your family love the freedom of swimming any time of year, if you love sharing good times and making great memories, or if you want one of the best total body workouts ever, then it's time to discover the 3 C's of your very own endless pool. The first C is convenience. Imagine swimming year-round in your own private swimming pool, installed indoors or out, just steps away. The second C is comfort. With sculpted spa seats and your own adjustable temperature, you can easily escape the stress of your day. And the third C is cost. Your endless pool is an affordable luxury at a fraction of the cost of a regular pool. And here's a bonus C, choice. Because when you call for your free Endless Pool Idea Kit, you'll receive information on our full line of pools to suit your budget and location.
Call now for free information. 800-283-8089. 800-283-8089.
Lap cars nearly tangle right in front of him. Kevin Harvick and Michael McDowell. It is clear sailing now. Denny Hamlin on his way.
Here comes Denny Hamlin for the final time at the back straightaway. Lap traffic in the rearview mirror. He'll dial up the outside line. Denny Hamlin looking to be a champion here in Darlington.
Get out the brooms because he is going to sweep Darlington for the weekend. He won yesterday, and Denny Hamlin has won the Bojangle Southern 500 for the second time in his career.
Dave Moody, Mike Bagley, and Jeff Striegel with a call on the Motor Racing Network Sunday evening from Darlington. Denny Hamlin gets his second career win there, and extra sweet because it's throwback weekend, and plus it really puts him in solid momentum form heading into the playoffs.
A unique throwback paint scheme on both of his cars that he was able to drag to victory lane without any effort on his part. Really had a good weekend, but the unique paint scheme was back when Rick Hendrick's dad drove in the series, and Rick Hendrick was 12 years old with that paint scheme back in the day. But Denny Hamlin, amazing strategy with him and Kyle, running really, really long at the end of the race when everybody had pitted and it looked like they were giving up a lot of track position. But what it allowed them to do is make it in one less stop and have really fresh tires at the end. Martin Truex Jr. tried to extend his efforts, would not pit when those two were coming. Ended up blowing a right front tire, but clearly a dominant effort from my Toyota again.
He did clinch the regular season championship, however, Truex did, and that brings a bunch more bonus points with it as well.
Yeah, an extra 5, extra 15 total, but 10 for second place, so he got an extra 5 over that second place going into after Richmond. Very, very exciting effort from Darlington. Again, a great weekend with Throwback Weekend. You just can't, it's just an exciting time to be there.
A lot of fun. Let's turn now to America's favorite new game show, Ask Joey, where fans get an opportunity to probe the mind of this guy, and that's a scary thing. But our question this time comes from Susan and Zoe, who want to know about tires.
Hey Joey, this is Susan.
I'm Zoe.
And we want to know, what's the process you go through to get your tires?
Hey guys, that's a really good question. So when a race team shows up, their wheels show up before, now just the rim. Those tires are mounted and they're sitting ready for practice and qualifying this weekend, and every weekend's a little different, but this weekend we had 5 total sets of tires for practice and qualifying. When the teams show up in the garage, they go pick those tires up, they let all the air out of them, they purge them back with nitrogen to keep the moisture out and keep a very controlled environment in the tire, and then we're allowed to practice and we qualify on those 5 sets.
So you don't get to go through like at the grocery store when you're trying to pick a cantaloupe and say, I want this one or that one.
No, Goodyear's efforts in their trying to maintain continuity, all the tires are the same. You have left side tires and right side tires, and they're issued to the team on the wheels supplied by the race team. Then after qualifying, or before the race, you're issued another set of tires, inventory if you will, and every track is a little different. Darlington, because we wear out so many tires, we had 12 sets laying on the ground before the race, plus the 1 set that we started the race. So we were able to use a total of 13 sets. Now the tires
Did
we
that
used
feel like enough?
Early in the race it didn't. We
Yeah.
had cautions at lap 14 and lap 20. It happened very quickly. So what we had was, we had 5 sets starting, we turned those in, and we can't use those for the race, but we do start the race on the set of qualifiers. So we had the set we qualified with, plus 12 extra tires.
All right, there you go. So you can send your question to Ask Joey as well, and we'll get him in line and get him to him as quickly as we can. But play along and try and throw him a curveball or two, if you will, along the way. All right, let's shift gears again now and head back north of the border. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, another crazy finish to the truck race up there, and joining us now is the winner, Austin Cindric, first-time winner in the Truck Series. He punches his ticket to the playoffs with a dramatic finish, won the pole, won the first stage, had a miscue on pit road where the gas can was hung up in the truck, but was able to overcome that and get the victory in the end. He joins us on the guest line now. Austin, congratulations, man. Have you come down yet from the big smile you had on your face last time I saw you?
Pretty neat deal to get it done and get those guys at BKR win, and especially the last few weeks that they've gone through, and hopefully this is more momentum for us heading into the playoffs.
You know, limited experience in the Truck Series, but a large range of experience as road course racing. What preparation did you do? Anything special to go to Motorsports Park in Canada?
No, I mean we came with the same setup we ended last year when I ran the 2-truck in a one-off race, and really unloaded fast right off the bat, and we're able to toy around with a few things. And it's a place where I've had some experience and had some success in my career, and it's somewhere I'm comfortable at. And honestly, it just came all together at the end of the race for us to be there and contend for a win.
You've been getting better and better toward the end of the season. We talked about it in pre-race with 6 straight top 10s coming into that race. Does it feel like you guys have the right momentum now with the playoffs approaching?
It really does. I mean, in those 6 top 10s, 3 of those races we were contending for a win. So I feel like I'm starting to understand the steps it takes for a driver to conduct a perfect race weekend, execute a perfect race weekend in oval racing. I mean, like you said before, I have a limited experience in stock car racing, and especially in the Truck Series, and it's all about trying to understand what it takes for your truck to be good in traffic at a lot of these high-speed racetracks. So I feel like Doug and I have been working really well together since the middle of the summer, and I think we're coming in close on being able to be a contender every weekend.
Made the playoffs. Congratulations. I wish I could have been there for you to enjoy the experience with Doug and the team and everybody. But now we get in the playoffs, and we know where you're getting better at. What's the one weakness you think we need to work on as we try to be contend for that race in Homestead?
Honestly, I feel like qualifying has been somewhere where we haven't been the strongest. I always feel like we have good race speed, but there's always a step we always end up having to take off strategy that has to put us in good track position. So I feel like we could probably take some better steps on getting ourselves better track position before the race starts. I feel like that's somewhere we need to improve on. But race-wise, I feel like we're usually really good in pit road. We're usually really good on the racetrack trying to get by people, and I feel like we've developed great race cars in the past few races that really haven't taken much to adjust on through the race. So I feel like maybe starting further up front is going to be the next step for us to being able to contend for a win every weekend.
Chatting with Austin Cindric, who won at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, his first career win in the Truck Series, punches his ticket to the playoffs, driving that draw-tight Reese Ford for Brad Keselowski Racing. Austin, got to ask you about the final lap. You and Kaz Gralla had contact there coming down to the checkered flag. Tell us about the closing stages of that race and what happened there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty obvious what happened. And I may have been too honest about what went through my head in order to make that happen. I mean, I don't race that way, contrary to what most think, especially after yesterday. But honestly, it's the game NASCAR has set up for us to play, which isn't a negative, but it's also not a positive. I mean, guys have dumped people for wins, especially at that racetrack, for many, many years. And I honestly wouldn't have done it unless I had incentive to, and my incentive was to get the team a win, and my incentive was to get us in the playoffs. In any other circumstance, if we're in the playoffs, I wouldn't have done it. It's just one of those deals that you had to get yourself to do. It's the first time I've ever gone into a corner and know that I was going to throttled up and hit the guy in front of me. No, I wasn't planning on spinning him out. There was a lot of runoff there to the left that I was going to move him to and try and get a good run down the straightaway, but and I ended up sending him around, and it's kind of one of those deals. And you got to drive by, and you can't apologize for winning. I definitely don't like how it all ended up, especially with Kaz, because Kaz and I have grown up racing together. Kaz and I are friends. Obviously, that may change after that weekend. I know he's not very happy, and he has all the right to be. So it's one of those things I'm going to have to move through and try and earn some respect back over time, I guess.
You mentioned something interesting there that I want to follow up, that in terms of the sanctioning body NASCAR has set up this system under which you guys have to operate. And with that being said, and what we saw a year ago at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park between John Hunter Nemechek and Cole Custer, I guess in the back of your mind there was nothing to make you think, uh-oh, I better not do this or they're going to come down on me. I mean, it realistically is the parameters that you've been given to deal with, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, and even the Cole Custer thing in Nemechek last year, the thing about that was Nemechek took Cole's chance away to contend for the championship, whereas I guess maybe where I was a bit too blunt in saying in my interview after the race was that Kaz already was in the playoffs. So I wasn't taking his future away. I was taking a win away. Obviously, it still hurts just as much, but it's one of those deals that it made it a very simple decision for me. I didn't know if I was going to have enough time to pass him cleanly down in 10, and it's one of those things. He probably wasn't expecting me to get to him in 5. 5 was where I was the strongest all day, so I'm going to have to exploit that. I felt like that was the best way for me to get away before the last corner, because you can usually see guys able to come back at him through 9 and 10 because they're S's. It's just kind of one of those deals, but you're exactly right. And in no series that I've raced in before, except for in NASCAR, have you been able to get away with something like that. But it's the game you play, and you have to play the game. I'm actually honestly very surprised that lots of people aren't accepting of what happened. I can understand that they're upset, but it's the move I had to make to put ourselves in a position to contend for a championship.
Austin, don't beat yourself up too bad. The only reason
let's not forget he got knocked out of the lead at the ARCA race the week before at Road America in the last lap.
And the simple fact is, the people that are upset, really, it's only because you're not their driver yet. You see, if it had been another driver that they enjoyed, it'd have been the greatest move in history of truck racing at Canadian Motorsports Park. Now we're in the playoffs. The road course season is over for you in NASCAR. We've run road courses in ARCA, we run road courses in the Xfinity, and then now the truck. But that portion of the season is done, and we have a number of races coming forward. Which one do you think presents the biggest challenge? We've talked about qualifying for a better weekend, but what racetrack is our biggest challenge as we move forward?
Honestly, looking ahead, between myself and BKR, I feel like we've struggled on the short tracks at the tail end of the year. I feel like we didn't have a very representative weekend during the spring race at Martinsville, contrary to what I experienced my first ever truck race there. So I feel like that's going to be a bit of a question mark heading back there in October. We as a company struggled at Phoenix last year as well as New Hampshire. So I feel like those are two races where we have a little bit of redemption. But in turn, we also performed really well as a team at Iowa and Gateway. Chase contended for wins there, and we ran top 5 all race there. So I feel like those are both question marks, but I feel like the mile and a halfs coming up are going to be really good for us between Chicagoland in a week or so, and Vegas, where BK out of 1-2, Tyler Reddick won the race with the team that I'm with, and I feel like Homestead's another good track for BKR. So I feel like there's a few mixes of good tracks and question marks, but I feel like most teams also experience the same things there.
Let's finish with this, Austin. You mentioned in Victory Lane when I was talking to you about, with the uncertain future a lot of the employees at Brad Keselowski Racing have with the announcement that the team will end its run at the end of this season. This win obviously is a huge lift for everybody, but before that, what's the mood been like at the shop? I mean, a lot of people think they're going to have, jobs with other organizations or with the new venture that Brad's trying to get together, or Team Penske or what have you, but there's got to be a certain amount that don't have a certain future. This has got to be a big lift, but what's the mood been like around the shop?
Yeah, it's been uncertain, honestly, because I had to stay most of the week in Bristol, and the Bristol weekend was the week where they announced that BKR wasn't going to return to competition. So I was kicking myself because I wasn't able to be at the shop. I actually ended up showing up. My next time at the shop was a week later because that was the next time I was home. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know if everyone was going to still be positive and upbeat and excited for the next race weekend, because the Canada race weekend was something we planned for the whole year. I mean, we built a brand new race truck just to do one road course race. So I know those guys were really excited for that race and had a lot of high expectations. And when I got to the shop, it was almost normal. I was really impressed with the attitude of that team, and it made me want to drive even harder for them. It made me realize how lucky I was to be in the situation that I am with the people that are around me, and it also made me realize how good of a job Brad had done getting the right people in the right positions to elevate guys like myself and Chase up through the ranks of NASCAR.
All right, and now you're headed to the playoffs, and it looks like a bright future for the team, and you guys are seeming to be getting hot at the right time. Congratulations on the win, and look forward to seeing you guys compete for a championship this year. Thanks for your time, Austin.
Yep, no worries. Thank you.
Good job, man.
There you go. How about that? That some pretty refreshing, blunt talk there from the young man who just turned 19 the day before that race.
And he understands the concept of not saying, I don't race that way, because he doesn't. But the opportunity exists, and NASCAR opens the opportunity to make it dealable.
That's the box they've been given.
Exactly right. So he took the opportunity, going through his mind where he has to go. Kaz is already in, so me hitting him isn't hurting his chances, and I'm not in, and I have to get in. Kudos to them. Good job. It's what it is. If it was your favorite driver, you'd be all for it. If it's not your favorite driver, as Kaz, he's going to be mad. That's part of racing. It's a selfish sport. This is a selfish sport.
Yep.
He stole from and got stolen from. So that's the way it works.
Absolutely. All right, another timeout on Motorsports Monday. We've still got on track, off track ahead. We'll look forward as well to Richmond coming up, and all that's still ahead on Motorsports Monday. Stick around.
It's almost Busch o'clock. A time for relaxing and unwinding with a crisp, cold Busch beer. It's the most refreshing time of the day. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1. Busch. Crisp, cold Busch. Enjoy responsibly. Busch Beer. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
MRN's Winged Nation on MAV TV.
Rico Abrams in the house. How are you?
Now this is great. Be on MRN, Wing Nation.
Brian Brown.
You guys do so much, Wing Nation in general, for our sport. It's awesome. You take us to the next level, and it's just awesome to have such a professional run show that is representing our sport, and something we're real proud of.
Greg Wilson's in the house.
Yeah, and thanks for what you guys do. And shout out to all you fans. You guys make our sport, and thank you.
Saturdays at 8:30 and 11:30 Eastern on MAV TV with Steve Post and Ashley Stremme.
For the final time, they head towards turn number 4 and turn number 5. One lap truck is slowed, heading to turn number 6. But here's the battle for the lead. It is Austin Cindric. He gets into the back end of Grella. He sends him wide in turn number 5C. It is Austin Cindric setting his sights towards the checkered flag.
I don't know if you want to call that a bump and run or a shove and run at turn 5, but it's going to work for Austin Cindric. He comes through turn 9, now the right-hand turn 10, all by himself. Austin Cindric will win his very first career victory at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Jason Toy and Dan Hubbard with the call from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and a great turnout from the fans. The Canadian Mounties were there. They had bagpipes, all the ceremony you would want. A lot of guys with throwback paint schemes there. And I meant to ask Austin, but we got on a different topic there about his throwback uniform, because he was honoring Bob Keselowski, and he said, the interesting thing, I asked him about it in pre-race, he said, yeah, it's more than just a paint scheme. When I first got into the sport, I was volunteering with Brian for Bob, and that's how they got to know each other, and that's how he got his start. He had not only the paint scheme, but his racing shoes looked like brown street shoes. It was fantastic. Really cool.
Again, just an all-around
John
weekend.
Nemechek had the throwbacks as well. It was really cool.
Yeah, again, it's like Halloween, but with a purpose. You're honoring the past in today's future. So it was really cool to see two trucks with Bob and Ron Keselowski, the purple, and the throwback with Bob on the 29 as well. And again, we could talk about that for a week.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. But to see it spill over from Darlington all the way up to Canada was kind of interesting, and a lot of cool stuff as well. Let's talk a little on-track, off-track. This is the portion of the program where we look at some things that are going well and some things that aren't going quite so well in the world of motorsports. What jumped out at you over the weekend?
You know, a couple weeks ago we gave Goodyear a little bit of an off-track because the tire there was simply rock hard. We could run the same tire all week, all race. Lap times never fell off. There was no competition gain or saved by running hard or running easy. Quite the opposite at Darlington Motor Speedway. Darlington Raceway has a fantastic tire combination for that track. Not only do the tires fall off, but when they fail, it's a slow failure. We saw a couple of hard hits, but like at the end at Truex, when you abuse the tire to a certain point, you expect it to fail, and Goodyear says that's on you guys. When you run an exceedingly number of laps on a tire that's falling off a large amount, it's going to fail.
And they have good long run speed.
Exactly right. So what happens is you have those tires that are falling off, then a car that is better is going to run better on older tires, and that's where the cream rises to the top. So what you have is you don't have the same cars with no advantage on running hard or soft on tire because they're all going the same speed like at Michigan. You have Darlington, you have guys that are easy on tires, can end up making that gain up at the end. It's a fantastic tire combination.
You mentioned Martin Truex Jr. Here's what he had to say following the race.
Well, it's definitely big picture. It was a good night. We want to win, though, and this is such a special racetrack. To come up 2 laps short with a right front tire that blows out is a tough one to swallow, but that's racing. That's how it goes some days. Cole was wanting to pit 2 laps later, and some guys pitted and he jumped in with them. This 2 laps would have been the difference. But proud of my team, proud of everybody on this team for the whole season. And clinching a regular season is a big deal for all of us, especially me. And this just the playoff points, the bonus points are going to be huge for us. So got one more week to get some more. Hopefully we can do that. But a little bittersweet tonight.
Martin Truex Jr. clinching the regular season championship and the extra points, playoff points that go with that. He's going to be awfully hard to derail until they get to Homestead.
Something catastrophic will have to happen for Martin Truex and the team based in Denver, Colorado, not to be showing up in Homestead, Florida at the end of the race racing as one of the 4 teams for the championship.
Quickly, on track for me is road racing. We've seen it all year long. The last few years, they've been spectacular. I wish, however, that the Truck Series would add one more road race, particularly from the standpoint of, you heard Austin Cindric talking there, they built a new truck for just one race. The economics of it would work better if they could use that truck at a couple of races instead of just the one race.
Yeah, Watkins Glen would be a fantastic. We raced there for a number of years back in the Camping World, the Craftsman Truck Series for a number of years. The Camping World Truck Series would do really, really well back at Watkins Glen. All 3 series are fantastic at that racetrack.
All right, what about off track? What's not going quite so well?
The negative push on information that really is useless as a fan. If I'm at the racetrack and I'm watching the race, if I'm on TV, if I'm listening to MRN, I don't care what the ratings are. I'm watching the race. If I'm not at the racetrack, if I'm not watching on TV, if I'm not listening to MRN, I don't care what the TV ratings are. Why do we insist on pushing this negative information? If I'm watching the Busch race back in the day and we saw Cup guys, what'd they call them? They were called bushwhackers. It was what it was called. We didn't beat the dead horse over and over and over about Cup guys in the Xfinity race. If I'm at the track, I see it going on. I don't have to push the negative push all the time about Cup guys in the Xfinity series.
But you notice that kind of goes away when the ratings are up for a particular
I agree
race.
with that. What we have is those are called editorials. You have your own little piece, you can give your opinion, but let's report what's going on without the negative connotation all the time. If you want to talk about it in the beginning of the season, I get, but it just becomes such a dead horse issue. Let's just stop it and report on what's going on.
All right, I agree. Generally speaking, the negativity is my off track as well, and it comes in a whole lot of forms about a whole lot of topics in the sport. All right, that's on track, off track. One more break on Motorsports Monday. Back to wrap it up next.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. about Outback Steakhouse. Great!
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Live sports are the one true reality entertainment, where a single dramatic moment can become timeless. In NASCAR, Motor Racing Network's live broadcast elevates your senses to the sights, sounds, and struggles taking place on the racetrack.
Danica Patrick to the front of the field at Talladega. They are side by side behind her. Jimmy Johnson.
The power of radio to the imagination of the listener. Tune in to the Motor Racing Network. Visit MRN.com for an affiliate list in your local area.
Joey dials it up deep, drives it deep into turn number 1. He's on the back bumper. He looks to the inside out of 2, but Hamlin is able to hold him off. They're jousting on the back straightaway.
Here's Logano to the inside. Hamlin tries to throw the block. Hamlin will swing wide. Logano jams it in, sliding across the nose of Hamlin. Hamlin comes back to the bottom at 4.
Side by side for the race lead and for the win at Darlington. Across the stripe, Denny Hamlin wins the Sport Clips Haircuts VFW 200.
Dave Moody, Mike Bagley, and Alex Hayden with the call Saturday at Darlington, the Xfinity Series race won by Denny Hamlin. And now we look ahead. Richmond is next on the schedule for both the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series.
25 races down, 1 to go to try to clinch all 16 drivers to get to that big playoff push. We know 13 drivers are in. That's a given. But there's 3 drivers sitting there stacked on top of each other. You got Chase Elliott, Matt Kenseth, McMurray within 2 points of each other. Now they're just dreading for one guy behind that's not in that group to win a race. And Eric Jones, a Dale Jr., who's won multiple races at Richmond, that's going to really shuffle on. Logano can win that race, who won in the spring. You've got 3 drivers separated by 2 points. If one driver outside needs to win, he gets the 14th spot. That jumbles.
Leaving only 2 spots.
That jump leaves 2 spots. Those 3 drivers are 2 points apart. That's a really big competitor. Clint Boyer had a terrible weekend at Darlington with an engine failure. Really put him outside. He's got to win. He's got to win. Exactly right. Yeah. So it's a really big, exciting push. Again, a great race with the Xfinity guys going up there. Brad will be in the 22. It'll be our last race. The Cup guy, he won't run any more Xfinity races. We don't get to hear about Brad.
The rule is that they can't participate in the playoffs in a series that they're not running for points with a certain level of experience.
That's it. So we're going to run the last race at Richmond. Again, it's a great race on Friday.
Who's going to be piloting the 22 car down the stretch here in the playoffs?
Ryan Blaney, because he doesn't have 5 years of Cup experience.
Okay. For all of those races or just some? Or do you know yet?
I think most of them.
Most of them.
Yeah,
okay.
I do know that Austin Cindric did test the car at Homestead.
That's interesting. Yeah. He made his debut at Road America a couple of weeks before in that car, so that could be something to keep an eye out for down the road.
Very possible.
The difference at Richmond in the nighttime versus the daytime?
We think the daytime creates a little more activity, only because the track gets a little more slickery.
Slickery?
There you go.
What?
There you go. Yep. The nighttime tends to keep the track a little bit cooler, a little more grip. The track still widens out equally, but we tend to see a little better racing, we think, in the daytime. But again, nighttime at Richmond is something we've done for years. It's kind of like a Darlington tradition. It's a great facility to go to and watch, a great fan experience as well.
Going to be a lot of fun for sure as we head to Richmond this weekend. Don't forget NASCAR Live every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Motor Racing Network will be at Richmond Raceway this coming weekend. You'll have the Xfinity Series race and the Cup race there. Check MRN.com for the schedules. All the information you need there to keep up with the points battles, the playoff battles, the paint schemes, the stories that are going on through the week. You can find all that at MRN.com. Don't forget to send your question in for Ask Joey as well. We'll be right back here next Monday to guide you through another race. He's Joey, I'm Woody. See you next week.
MRN Motorsports Monday is presented by Outback Steakhouse. Tune in every Monday for another exciting episode right here on MRN.com. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand in MRN.com's Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and in iTunes or the Google Play Store. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network.